Good morning, everybody. Or I should say probably good afternoon. It's 12 o'clock here in Sydney. Thanks for joining us. Welcome to another Adobe live stream session. Today we've got my mate Jesse in with us again. We're doing another dual session where we're going to kind of talk and draw. Say hello, Jesse.
Hello, Jesse.
Hello, Jesse.
Hello, Jesse.
You're down in Melbourne, aren't you?
Yes, and you're up in heaven.
That's right. That's why I'm wearing a t-shirt designed by you, and you're wearing a big lumberjack jacket because it's freezing cold in Melbourne.
It is freezing cold in Melbourne. It's currently raining sideways, and
very nice.
The weather outside is weather. I don't know what else to tell you, my friend.
So it's May the 4th. So
it is May the 4th.
May the 4th be with all of you guys, and may also lots of questions be with all of you guys. So we've got Flynn is also, as always, logged in. Big shout out to host Master Chief.
Hostmaster.
He will be posting us your questions. So please, as we're doing this, we're just going to chat and draw as we're doing this. So if you guys got any questions, if you need to know what we've done or kind of how we're doing it or whatever, send us the questions. We'll go through them as we can. But otherwise, I think today we're just going to go full May the 4th and do some Star Wars stuff. So yeah, let's get going. So I'm using Photoshop, and I think you're also using Photoshop.
That is correct. I am also using
Fantastic
Photoshop. Why do you make this so awkward, man?
I don't know, just got to do it.
What do you think you're doing over there in Sydney, man?
So you're like, would you say that you do like most of your stuff in Photoshop?
Yeah,
or
pretty much.
You like Illustrator?
I take it to Illustrator when I need to, like when I want that like finessed type of look, like if I know it's going on a shirt vector, like a shirt or something.
Yeah.
Wherever it's required. But yeah, predominantly just in Photoshop, man. Like, don't really need much else, in my opinion.
Yeah.
What about you?
Yeah, I'm like Photoshop all the way. If it's digital for me, which is like 95% of the time, it's Photoshop. Like you said, I don't really necessarily need much else.
What if you had to? If you had to like survive off one program for the rest of your life?
Why would it be my Desert Island program?
Why would it be Microsoft Word?
It would not. Definitely not be that.
Leave me alone. I'd probably use it to keep me warm in those cold summer nights. I'd burn it. Anyway, moving on. So what are you drawing?
I don't know. So I'm just like
doing
a few sketches, warming up a little bit. I always find like I've started doing this. I was told this when I was in college. Like do the warm up thing, and like before you start sketching, like just warm your arm up and stuff. And I never really paid much attention to it, and I just keep getting like told that again and again and again through like different like YouTubers or whatever. And
I never warm up. That's why I get
so I've never used to, and now I've started kind of doing it, and it's like, oh yeah, it does make a difference to like get the arm going, get the brain going a little bit before you start kind of drawing stuff. So yeah, just like messing around with different ideas, and we'll see what kind of comes out of it. But yeah, all kind of Star Wars themes.
I could turn that into so many innuendos, but you know, for the safety of my career, I'm gonna keep it PG.
Yes, please.
Don't worry, man. Don't worry. So do you warm up every time, or you just like is this like just on the way into something, like you trying to get the creative juices flowing, or like will you occasionally warm up if you know the gist of an idea?
I think like it's a little bit of both. I reckon for me, it's like a little bit of get the creative juices flowing, but also especially when I'm drawing like more like manga stuff where it's more kind of poses and body involved kind of thing.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's definitely something I've found is super helpful when I'm doing that kind of stuff to just make sure I'm not going in like a little bit blind, I guess, and maybe a little bit like cold, and start trying to do stuff that's really tough. Like I still find a lot of challenge like drawing the human body, especially when you're trying to get like crazy perspective poses and all that kind of stuff. Like doing that like fresh in the morning when you've just woken up can be really challenging, I think.
Yeah.
At least for me. So yeah, I found like I said, I never really used to pay too much attention to it, but I have found in that like it feels a bit nicer, and I'm happy with what I've done.
What's some of the drawing exercises you do?
It'll be like stuff like even just drawing ellipses like this, like getting the like the blood throwing into the arm, getting all this kind of stuff. Or I'll start kind of like drawing body poses and see like what happens there, just unrelated stuff, you know, like trying to get that kind of my arm going a little bit, I guess.
I like the way you're saying that.
But yeah, doesn't necessarily have to be like specifically related to what I'm doing for that particular drawing. But yeah, I've definitely found that it helps to do that quite a bit. But we've got a question from Steve in the chat.
What's up, Steve?
He wants you to talk about a little bit about your recent murals. So you do a bunch of murals all the time, and they're kind of just like mostly client based. So I think, yeah, Steve's just asking if you can kind of chat a little bit about that.
Yeah, murals is kind of my bread and butter at the moment. I think it's something I really enjoy doing. It keeps me. It helps put me in this like Zen state. So like I'll design everything digitally first, which I think for me is important. And then I will, just kind of like transfer it to the wall after that. But
so you like project it onto a wall, yeah?
I've actually stopped projecting.
Oh yeah.
Yeah, I think I haven't projected anything this year, which is sick.
How come?
I wanted to try and upskill it. Like I wanted to go bigger and better, and like a lot of the stuff that I've been doing recently is like exterior.
Yep.
So it doesn't really afford me the opportunity to go and set up a projector in the middle of the day in the middle of the street. So I've kind of had to teach myself a new grid method. But it's nice once the design is done, I can actually take it to the wall and just feel really, I can zone out in a way.
Yeah.
And because I know everything's done, there's no real creative left to do, and it's just kind of laborious work. But it's also like an enjoyable labor as well.
Yep.
I nodded and the entire camera shook. That's how heavy my head is. Yeah, I mean, I love painting murals, man. It's so therapeutic, and it's the most fun in the world, man. Just getting paid to paint, and like not just roll walls, but like actually paint. It's so good. Yeah, I mean, if there's anything else more particular that you want to know about murals, I'm more than happy to ask. But like, it's one of those, piece of string questions. Like, how long? Like, I can go for ages. You know what I mean?
Yeah. So because I'm interested in this too, because I like under your tutelage and guidance, I've kind of started dabbling into murals a little bit as well.
Young Padawan.
Exactly. And so like it's one of those things, I see a lot of people doing the projection, and then there's a lot of people also doing the grid system, and like from my experience I've found that the projection is nice because you don't need to worry too much about like messing up the proportions from your digital onto the wall, which is tricky because you're so close, like your face is right up into the wall. It can be a little bit tricky to like know exactly what you're doing, but then like you said, like I've found as well that it can be really tricky because you got to worry about like, it won't work during the daytime, it won't work during like if it's too bright, if the wall is too, like if you can't get far away enough from the wall.
Oh man, yeah.
Like there's so many things that you need to like fuss over when you're doing it. That it's been kind of interesting to think about like the grid system as well and how that works.
The thing is as well is that like setting up a projector is good for taking a shortcut if you know that there's no hiccups or anything like that.
Yeah.
But the time it takes sometimes to set up a projector is not worth the time you think to as a shortcut.
Yeah.
I remember like I've spent half a day trying to set up a projector on one project. And I was just like, yeah, I think it's just a waste of time sometimes. So like, and in other opportunities, it calls for it as well, because like, if you need to stay true to the design, or some situations call for it. But it's also weird as well in the mural industry, because there's a lot of people that consider it taboo as well.
As in like it's cheating.
Yeah, some people consider it cheating, but like you wouldn't have a go at a tradie for using a power tool. So
yeah.
But I don't know, man. Like I've only stepped away from the projector recently just to upskill a little bit. So I just wanted to teach myself something new in this grid system, and I guess just knowing that I don't need to rely on a projector is great. And yeah, so far so good. I've made no mistake so far, I think. I mean, I'm open to criticism. Tell me if I've done something wrong, man. But yeah, like I think using a projector is cool, but sometimes, yeah, like I said, it takes too long.
Yeah.
There's pros and cons to every project, I think.
Fair enough. We've got a bunch of other questions actually.
Shoot.
Yotis World wants to know where I got my LEDs. They're just like, if you go online, I think there's a thing called like LifeX is where I got mine, like LIFX, and they do a bunch of strips like that, and just set them up, and they kind of like rotate, controlled by your phone. Johanna is asking as well, what are the benefits of projecting? How come you stopped doing it? We kind of covered that a little bit. And then somebody's asking to mention the symmetry tool. So I'm using the symmetry tool here in Photoshop because I am doing this kind of like helmet straight on from like straight forward. And so just to make sure that both sides are even, and basically you're kind of drawing only half the drawing, and it kind of helps quite a bit to do this kind of stuff. So I will use the symmetry tool for this kind of thing, just so that it draws both sides at the same time when you're doing something that's like dead from the front. It's super handy to do. So it's just up here, it just lives up here in the toolbox up there, symmetry tool, and you've got a range of different things that you can do. But curiously, it's funny, we were just talking about how like some people consider the projecting thing to be cheating a little bit, and like I have heard comments about the symmetry tool also being this sense of like cheating a little bit.
That's weird. Why though?
I don't know. I think there's like
jealousy.
Probably, I don't know. Why would they be jealous? Because like they could just use it themselves too. But I think there's this thing of like, and I know you've said this to me as well when we've been on site together doing like I've been helping you doing murals. Like often like tradies will come in and just say things like, oh, so you guys just like trace stuff, don't you? It's like, well,
tradies are the worst, man. It's
like, well, yeah, like you said, like you use the power tools to get the job done. Like I use this to get the job done right too. Like it's for the client.
I remember being on site once. I think I was on the same site that you helped me out on in that Catholic club or something.
Yeah.
And someone was like, why are you using a projector? Why don't you just freehand it on like every other artist? And I was like, why don't you headbutt that nail in and see how far it goes?
Yeah, exactly. It's a little bit like
bazinga.
Why, like, yeah, like, don't you want me to do the thing at the best possible way? Like,
yeah,
I find that a bit strange. But yeah, I think there is always this kind of weird thing with digital. It's like, oh, it's cheating. You're like, you don't have to mix your paints because it's not as like doesn't require, or at least that's the thought, doesn't require as much skill as doing it by hand. Which I can see where that thought comes from, because like you're talking about upskilling to project onto the wall.
I think as long as you know that you can do like whatever is required, that's fine. Like you can do whatever you need to at that time. Do you know what I mean?
Yeah.
It doesn't actually have to be. I don't see the need to feel shame about the way that you put something on a wall. I think it's so outdated, man. You've watched, like, in 2 years there'll be murals created by robots, and then that will be the new shame, and I'll be one of those people shaming the robots. I start an online beef with robots. Me versus robots on Reddit. It's gonna happen, man.
It's always a bit like, I think that happens with a lot of stuff as well. Like, people have a go at how other people do their art. It's just like, whatever.
Well, yeah, I mean, it's kind of outdated, but like the idea of kind of being against other creatives. The thing with Honeybones as well is, like, I try and pair creatives together, and I try and, like, so even with this as well, it's like another way for networking. I think it's awesome, and I think it's something that's just never done. It's done so rarely, and then, like, connecting creatives and just, like, celebrating, like, an awesome way to collaborate and stuff. Like, I think with so many artists are just going to get left behind, or so many people in general are going to get left behind because they don't want to network, or they don't want to accept a new wave of something. Do you know what I mean?
Yeah.
Which is cool. I'm happy to leave those people behind.
Fair enough.
Watch me.
I guess with that, like, that raises another question of, like, talking about, like, networking and all that kind of stuff. So you're somebody who, like, is not afraid to put themselves out there and all that kind of stuff. But I think a lot of people might not necessarily be afraid of that, but don't necessarily know how to approach that, I guess, in terms of, like, how would you say that you find, like, most of your clients? Do they find you, or do you hit them up and go, like, hey, I really like what you're doing, let's do some stuff together, do you give them suggestions of what they could do, or do you just, like, go, like, hey, here's a Hail Mary, I'm just gonna hit you guys up and hopefully you like my work and we can work together?
Sorry, I was thinking about something else. No, I'm kidding. I mean, there's lots to digest there. In the beginning, I used to reach out a lot. I think it's like my salesman background in me. Do you know what I mean? Like, I used to sell waterless car wash in the rain. So, like, I'm kind of really driven when it comes to, like, getting paid and eating and all that jazz. So, like, I'm very vigilant with the way that I conduct myself, and in the beginning I used to reach out a lot. I used to reach out to clients that I wanted to work with. I used to, like, tag people. I used to, man, just do whatever it takes, ethically, of course. Like, there's a lot of artists that will reach out to the clients of, like, other artists. So, for example, like, you know, I will work with, like, a beer brand or something, and then some, like, artists I know will also reach out to that beer brand, which is a little bit of a no-no. So I always stayed away from that. I always stayed away from, like, taking work away from other artists. I always try to find my own avenues and find, like, holes in the market. So, like, I remember reaching out to sushi restaurants and, like, just, like, good canvases, and I was like, hey, this looks like a good opportunity for a mural, would you be interested? And I used to do it that way, but it's really one of those, like, those unscripted things, and it's so hard to see in the beginning. But I think now I've gotten to the point where clients just reach out to me, and I don't really actually have to reach out as much anymore. Like, I do a little bit, but not as much. And I remember thinking in the beginning when I started, I was like, man, that will never happen. I have no idea. I remember, like, looking up to artists like Dale and stuff, and I was like, man, how did, like, I don't understand the concept of like of people reaching out to me. It seems so taboo, and then after it started happening, I was like, oh, okay, I get it. It just took a while.
Yeah.
But yeah, now I'm at the point where like people come to me for my style, and it's not just like, hey man, we want a bird, we want like a rainbow, we want a beautiful landscape, we want our hot dog with our logo on it. Like,
yeah,
it's not really any of that anymore. Now people come to me like, hey, we really like that thing you did for Converse, or like, we really like that thing you did for Pirate Life or Fireball. It's like, we want that too, or we saw what you did for that mural down the road, we want that as well. It's like, okay, cool. So now people are starting to come to me for my stuff, which is, in the beginning, I would have thought would be rare. I always thought I'd have to convince people to like let me paint what I want, and it's kind of sick now. Sometimes I still catch myself like I just pinch myself sometimes, like, I can't believe this is happening. Do you know what I mean? Yeah, like even with Adobe as well, man. Like, I remember the first Adobe that I jumped on with Flynn. I was like, oh my god, I can't believe this is happening. And I remember like nearly bailing last minute, and I was like, no.
Well, because you were like nervous, or?
Dude, I get imposter syndrome hard, like, all the time. Yeah. And I remember thinking, I was like, oh, this is not for me. This is too big for me. And I got there, and Flynn was like, no, man, every artist thinks the same. And I was like,
Flynn just messaged me in the questions and just said, thanks for not bailing, dude. I think he appreciated you not bailing.
Well, that was actually a clone that I it was it was my Mexican clone, JESWRI. Terrible joke, but you know, I haven't got much sleep last night, so that's okay. Forgiven us, Musto.
Working on a job?
Man, I'm setting up the gallery. Just like a lot of work.
Yeah, so you mentioned Honeybones before, just so like some people might not know exactly what that is. Honeybones is your gallery that you run in Melbourne, yeah?
Correct, yeah. I like to label it as the anti-gallery at the moment.
How so?
I'm just kind of putting a lot of artists in that don't fit anywhere else, and I've got I'm doing a lot of shows that other galleries wouldn't want to do, like this Star Wars show, completely bootleg, but
yeah,
you know, I'm kind of happy just to do it and like ask for forgiveness and permission. So that's why I say it's an anti-gallery. Like, it's more than just white walls, man. It's more than just like a gallery show with like pretty landscape pictures and stuff. It's like full of artists that want to just do different things. So like yourself, man, that's why you're in the show as well.
Oh, it's not because I'm amazing and a talented artist.
No, not at all. I think it's because you're incredibly handsome and you speak semi-fluent Japanese.
Very semi.
And French and Pig Latin and and everything else. Hey, and nerd, yeah. You speak Huttese. Jeremy.
So let's talk about the Star Wars show. Let's talk about like, you're a massive Star Wars fan, like a few people, so. But you're probably maybe a bigger fan than most, maybe, with that kind of stuff. So this is actually not the first Star Wars themed show that you've done, is it?
It's the first Star Wars thing I've done.
Oh yeah.
But it's not the first pop culture thing that I've done.
Right.
I've done pretty much all my work is based predominantly off pop culture. So it's the same as yours as well, man. It's what we breathe. Like our everything is pop culture, and like everything is just things that we enjoy. Like, we put what we enjoy into our art, and I think that shouldn't stop with just visual art, man. It needs to go into curation as well. So I was like, what could be better than like a couple of pieces of mine about Star Wars? Oh, I know, 40 other artists. So
yeah,
I just invited like all the other artists that I like, and I've missed out on some because like I can't reach out to everybody.
Yeah.
And Yeah.
Also, not necessarily everybody will be able to do the thing, but just because of like clashes or time wise or whatever. But
it's always interesting as well, like just seeing what other people that you like their work, like how that could look as a Star Wars piece. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
And I think that's what's so cool about like yours and my work, is that like we have so much pop culture influence. Like, oh cool, what do we do next? Oh, I'd love to see like David Bowie, or I'd love to see like Akira, or yeah. I don't know. I think yeah, having the opportunity to do like a really rad exhibition it's under my belt, but it's also just giving opportunity to other artists as well who would equally really like to do it, man. Like,
yeah,
that's my motivation for so many things. Like if I don't get invited to something, I'm gonna build it myself. So
yeah, fair enough. Yeah, like exactly. I think is like if you're in a position to do that, then why wouldn't you?
Exactly.
That's another pop culture reference for you guys.
Another Star Wars reference too.
Another SNL Star Wars reference. We've got a comment actually from Kendall in the chat. She says, I find if you have a question to ask during networking events, it's a lot easier. I used to ask people for quotes to illustrate and then tag them for the suggestion, good way to network. So like, how are you on like events and all that kind of stuff? Did you, like when you were starting out, did you go to events a lot? Did you try and like meet the people who you wanted to meet at those events? Like, did you prepare questions, that kind of stuff? Like,
nah, never prepared questions. I wasn't that prepared for anything. Like I remember going to shows like at Ambush Gallery, and I remember going to like some other ones like Kentaro and some group shows at Good Space, and I just remember thinking like, wouldn't it be cool if like I was one day in these group shows? Yeah. And I would always try to weasel my way in and find an opportunity on the way in, do you know what I mean? Mm-hmm. But equally, I was just more than happy just to be there and talk to people and like kind of find out how to attain to their level of where they were. Like I want to get to where they were, which is actually quite funny, because I remember like wanting to get to a certain level and like wanting to become a full-time artist, and I realized that a lot of the artists that I looked up to weren't actually full-time artists. And I was like, oh. So when I actually became full-time artist, I was like, whoa, you weren't full-time the entire time? I've completed the impossible. I've hit the Kessel Run in 12 parsecs.
Parsecs, exactly.
Yeah,
exactly. But it's funny. It's like, because when I started doing that too, like all these guys that I looked up to, and I started like doing, like speaking to, just hitting them up on like platforms like Instagram or whatever, and just asking them questions straight up. And most people I found are more than happy to answer your questions. As long as they can, as long as you're not asking them like confidential stuff on a job they're currently working on or whatever. But but asking them about like quotes and prices and like weirdly, like all these artists that like I looked up to, and I was like, wow, they've got their act together way more than I do, and they know what they're doing a lot more than I do, which is the reason I'm hitting you up. And then they're coming back to me with questions about how much do you charge for this? And it's like, oh, okay, cool. So that's a nice little ego boost, but it's also a good little indicator of like everybody's in the same boat. Everybody's trying the same stuff and like trying to figure out stuff. There's only very few people who have got it all like completely figured out. Yeah.
That's the thing, man. Everyone's human. It's I think that like to put people at like on a pedestal is just you'll realize it won't last long.
Yeah.
But yeah, I think like as well as like if you're going in with the intention to ask questions or to find out information, then I think it's going to be quite transparent as well. Like I literally went to these events just to meet people, man. Like I just wanted to be in circles and just kind of just know people. I can like someone's work so often, so many times, or I can like comment as many times as I possibly can, but meeting someone's different, because then you can find out how they carry themselves. Like, it's more than just a digital persona, man. Like, the way that I carry myself online is exactly the way I carry myself in person.
Yeah.
Which I don't know how rare it is, but I remember meeting people that were just so different online. Like, catfish me.
Yeah.
Full catfish me.
It is. I think there's definitely some of that happening in that sense, but it's yeah. I think the moral of the story is just like, don't be afraid to hit like the people who you like, or your people who you like look up to, or I don't want to say look up to because it maybe sounds a little bit pretentious perhaps, but people whose artwork you kind of like, that's cool, I don't know how they've done that, I'd like to kind of take my art in that way as well.
Yeah.
Like, don't be afraid to hit those people up and have a chat. And worst case scenario is they don't answer you, and it's like no biggie. But best case scenario, start like you get that potentially.
And when they do answer you, you know that they're buttholes. Because you know that they'll only answer you when you get famous, a famous rock star.
Yeah. Look, there are people like that, but again, like that's just. Yeah. I think, that's not the end of the world if that happens. But in the most cases that I've done that, like I did that with you, I did that with Dale Bagini, I've done that with Alex Lahurs. Like,
all good guys,
it's all like they're all people who like I'm now friends with, and we like we work together and we like share each other jobs and all that kind of stuff. So I think that's always a benefit of like, don't work in a vacuum. Don't feel like
help me, I'm in a vacuum. Help me. Help me, sir.
Help me, Jesse. You're my only hope.
Oh, pop. Good pop. I can safely say I've never ever been inside of a vacuum. Just thought I'd put that out there. I don't even know what it would like to live inside of a vacuum, to be honest.
Well, I guess it's more just like, in space, nobody could hear you scream.
Yeah, I'm only messing with you. I have lived inside of a vacuum.
Somebody's asking.
It was tight.
Somebody's asking about talking about reference and gathering reference. So I just popped in this the Star Wars Empire logo in the middle of my little Stormtrooper samurai helmet here.
Cheating. You need to know it off by heart. That's
see,
I'm kidding.
There is stuff like I've got like I brought up some samurai helmets online, but because it's stuff that I've done before, it's also like I didn't necessarily need to look at it too much for this kind of stuff. So there is like, you do gather a bit of a visual vocabulary. The more you do stuff, the more you know how to do it. Like because you're doing like lots of pop culture stuff, you are always like gathering references.
Man, I'll do it right now. I've been trying to draw a tauntaun for the past 10 minutes. It's not working. So you know what? I could reference it, but I think it's just gonna be easy if I don't. just gonna samurai sword this idea and just we'll see what happens. Dude, using references is fine. I think there's another big taboo thing about people using references. Like, if you don't know it, you need to learn it somehow. And like, as long as you're not using someone else's design for like a commercial job, or you're getting paid to use someone else's work, I think that's where the line is drawn. But if you're just using reference just to learn, or to upskill, or to like or just as a basis, or like a skeleton, go for it. Honestly, like, it's there's so many artists, and especially in this show, that were just like, hey, I think I'm plagiarizing work. I was like, well, you're in a Star Wars show, like, I'm 100% positive you're plagiarizing something, so how about just forget about it and just keep doing it?
I think that's fine. And again, depends on what you do with it and all that kind of stuff. Like if you're trying to sell it as your own, like, hey, look, I designed this character. His name is Han Solo. It's like, well, no. So like obviously don't do that. But I think is also just like I get. We talk about this a lot with Alex Lewis as well, where we're talking about like a lot of people talk about his style being quite similar to another super amazing artist, American artist called Tristan Eaton.
Okay. Right.
And like whether that's mistaken or not, whether people kind of see that style and whether they're right to kind of make the link in between that. I think Alex himself says like, yeah, I'm a fan of Tristan Eaton's work, but I wouldn't consider my work to be like ripped off of his style. But I think he gets accused of that a lot. But I get that every now and then with like the Japanese thing or the manga thing. Like, of course, my manga work or my Japanese work is going to look like another artist's work who also works with those themes. Like, I don't own those themes.
Yeah.
Like, nobody owns those themes. There's a lot of people who work with similar themes, and that's inevitably going to make their work look quite similar.
Yeah.
And I think it's just about like owning that, but also just making it your own, making it your own thing. And as long as you're kind of working on it in a way that you believe, then yeah, people are going to say, you know, like it's similar to this person who I also know, and potentially accuse you of ripping somebody's work. But yeah, I don't necessarily see it that way. I think it's just like, I do what I do. It's similar to what another person does. And yeah, that's it.
Yeah. So like, it's this thing as well, you know, the more prolific someone is, the more you're going to see it. The more you see it, the more it's going to stick in your brain, whether you do it consciously or not.
Yeah.
Right. If like, I've never drawn the comparison between those two. I don't really plan on doing it either. I don't think it's my place to do it. But I think like it's this weird little thing where you have to acknowledge the fact that people are talking about it. Like, all right, cool, maybe I can draw my own lines, maybe I can do my own thing, and like maybe I am kind of going close. But you have to acknowledge it. You have to know. You have to be aware as an artist of what you're doing. So like I've unfollowed heaps of artists before because I found my work was getting super close. And it sucks to like not see that person's work anymore, but it just has to happen because I've just found myself looking at it. And you know, but it's just, you need a starting point. You want to paint, or you want to create the work that you like seeing. So you have to kind of start somewhere, but as long as you're not directly ripping it, no one should have an issue with it. If I go by the principle of like, if I need to know something, or if I need to use a reference, I will look at it. I'll look at it like twice and then close it forever, and then I'll just draw from memory. Which is a little bit counterproductive to me drawing this Tauntaun, but I'm going to fade it the hell out. But then I've deleted the layer itself, and now I'm going to make it my own. Does that make sense?
Yeah, totally.
So there's kind of little principles like that, which, you know, if someone's going out and like tracing another artist's work, that's where I think in every way you have the ability to let the public have them. But yeah, in many ways as well, like you have to kind of start somewhere, and if that start, like, you just have to have a basis for your design. You have to, whatever, like, you also have to make it your own. So there's so many ways. I think it's like a huge conversation to have.
Yeah, it is definitely there, but yeah, I would completely agree with the idea that it's like, you know, does that mean that anybody who's a painter who does brush strokes and who uses color in the way that impressionists is like ripping off impressionists, like so it's just like, yeah, those people did it in the past for you to look at it and get inspired by it and try and do the same thing, and it's a great way to learn, but it can also become a thing that you do.
Oh man, the amount of people getting paid to rip off Basquiat right now is crazy.
Yeah,
that's where I think the line is drawn. If you have like a direct rip of something, or like a bootleg, we're full circle now. We're full circle with the bootleg. I'm going to cancel myself. you watch.
Yeah.
No, I think if you're like directly jacking someone's style, then, or artwork in general, then sure. Like, but as a public thing, you know, I don't believe in calling out other artists. I don't believe in like shaming someone undeservingly.
Yeah.
You know. Anyway, that's a new chat. What shirt are you wearing?
I am wearing a shirt made by this little-known artist from Melbourne who has a giant beard and who likes to wear these big old lumberjack shirts, called JESWRI. I think you might have heard of him.
Oh, don't pronounce my name wrong, or I'll come to Sydney and give you a leg. Oh, I'll give you a leg drop.
JESWRI, like a marble rye.
Ooh, marble rye.
Marble rye.
Have you seen Mortal Kombat?
Yeah, no, this is a job actually. This is interesting because you've worked with Audio Technica in the past, and we're talking about like, you know, people who've like other artists who've worked with brands, and then different artists will go in on that kind of stuff and try and kind of bite on that client a little bit. So you've done a bunch of work with Audio Technica in the past, and they actually came to you for another reef, which you was like a Japanese kind of rice beer brief, and you handed it over to me, which is a really that's a really nice thing to do. I think it's always one of those things. It's like when somebody goes like, "Oh no, I think this person would be better for it." I think everybody benefits from that.
Exactly. Well, there's two ways to look at that, right? So there's one way of like, you know, looking after my friends and making sure that like, you know, your friends can get work as well as you, because I think there's a lot of fun in that. There's a lot of like internal satisfaction about knowing that your friends can see the limelight or see the levels of fame as well. Like there's, you know what I mean? Like it's what's that saying? Like it's lonely at the top. That's so douchey when I said that out loud, but it's kind of like that though. I mean, I want my friends to be able to have success as well. But equally, man, like I think that I know you were really like hungry for work at the time. Like not hungry, but like you were driven, like really driven. I was like, man, I think that Jeremy's actually really suited for this brief more than I am. And it totally made sense. Yeah. Like I think I could have done it, but I knew that if I had tried to do it, it would have just ended up looking like your stuff anyway. So then, you know, then I draw the line of like, are Jeremy and Jesse the same person? But you know what I mean? Like,
I completely get that, and I've done the same in the past, where it's just been like I don't necessarily feel comfortable taking this on, because I'm not sure that I'd be able to do it even, or because I think that's a little bit too close to this person's style, so I don't feel comfortable doing this work for you when really you should be going to this other person, and that's a little bit kind of tricky. But it's also like maybe you're just not available at the time, you know, like maybe you're too busy, and it's a nice thing to do for your client to be like, hey, look, I'm going to say no, but I'm not going to leave you out in the cold either. And here's who I would recommend for this job.
I think I mean, there's definitely that as well, like just kind of knowing your limitations, which is something that I definitely don't. So for me I'm always saying yes. I say yes to so many things.
Yeah, you're a maniac with your workload.
I'm gonna take that as a compliment, but also
it's meant as a compliment. Yeah.
Put some respect on my name. put some respect on it. I say yes to so many things, man. I'm like Jim Carrey in the Yes movie. Catch me drinking like 60 Red Bulls and hitting the nightclub.
So you said that you've only had 3 hours sleep last night. Is that because you were working?
I think so. Yeah. Well, I got home at 4:30 in the morning, and I think I got dragged out of bed maybe between 7:30 and 8.
Yeah.
My wife was like, "You need to get up, or I'm gonna scissor kick you." And 3 scissor kicks later, I'm out of bed.
Only 3.
Only 3. Yeah, I learned on the first 2 to not let my wife kick me in the head, and then the third one was really just salt in the wound. He just felt like giving it to me. I was up, and yeah, really just nailed me in the back of the head.
So it's actually like on that topic, I guess we could talk about like work-life balance.
Scissor
or like
scissor kicking.
have like assuming you've turned jobs down simply because you were like, I don't have the time to do this?
Yep. Yeah, I have. It's happening more and more frequently too, which I'm actually quite excited about too.
Yeah. I guess it's a good sign, right? Like it's a sign that you're getting heaps of work.
Yeah. I remember, to be honest, man, like I remember when I was up and coming, I remember when I started out, I was like, I don't understand how like artists can just give away work, and like, why aren't they giving it to me?
Yeah.
And I remember just once again just feeling the idea of like, this can't be real, man. Like there's no way that artists could ever have that much work they could just give away. Yeah. And now I'm at that point. It's such a nice feeling, like to be able to pick and choose what jobs that I want, and being able to do one of 2 things. If it doesn't meet something I want to do, I'll either won't do it, or I can like twist and mold the brief or the client into like coming more and more towards something I want to do, which happens sometimes, but sometimes it just doesn't as well. And you just kind of think like, all right, cool. Well, this might be a great opportunity for an emerging artist to really like start sinking their teeth into the mural industry. Mm-hmm. And so that happens now, and it's really nice being able to like pass mural jobs in Melbourne over to my friends, like knowing that they want to like attain to a level of mural artists that you and I are at, where we can go, yeah, that's not my thing, I'm not really feeling that, or you know what I mean?
Yeah.
Sometimes it's just simple as like, it's a school that won't budge, or it's like a whiskey project that I can't make, or like something like contractually where a client might pay me enough to stay quiet, or like not quiet, but like stay loyal. I'm paying you to keep your mouth shut. Johnny,
I get what you mean. Like there's definitely like, yeah.
Johnny tight lips. Yeah, man, I just think like it's nice being at this level though. It just felt like it was impossible, and like just seeing like your friends benefit off it as well, like seeing other artists like benefit off this idea, like it's all like the idea of like sharing. It's sick, and it just sets a new precedent as well. Like it sets the idea that this is a common practice, and this should be a common practice for artists to network, and other artists to like share and be a community, man. Like when I was in Sydney, a big reason for me leaving Sydney was the fact that like Sydney was really cliquey, and was like cliquey in the point where like no one was a network. It was just like small groups of people that just like wouldn't let anyone into their club, or like, or other artists would just like, just didn't want to be a part of a group and didn't want to network. So I was in the middle ground. I was like, I want to network, but I also don't want to be in a clique. So just having the opportunity to like to establish the precedent that this is the way to do it. Like this art is a network for sharing and communicating, and I think that's awesome.
Yeah,
Honeybones really reflects that too.
And what goes around comes around as well. Like you do that for someone, and they'll hopefully kind of do it back for you one day as well, and
or someone else. Yeah. I think that's the best part.
We've got about 10 minutes left, guys. So we're gonna probably wrap these ones up soon, but we'll continue these ones on Thursday at 12, same time. So this Thursday at 12, we'll jump back onto these and continue them. But lots of really cool questions so far. So keep them coming while we move into the end of the show a little bit.
Yes, please.
How's your one going?
I've drawn a scene from Narnia.
Yeah?
Narnia business.
Narnia business.
No, it's going all right. I think I'm just laying down the skeleton for a design, which I'm going to continue Thursday. It's a Mandalorian of no specific name,
Mm-hmm.
riding a tauntaun,
Nice.
which I'll fix
Skulls.
up.
Isn't that Dale Bagini's territory? Aren't you biting on Dale Bagini? You're doing a
said-
skull, dude.
Me?
Yeah.
I said tauntaun. I didn't say. I got no anything of skulls. I've got no skulls in my thing.
Oh, I thought you said skulls. I
You
was getting ready to call you out.
You want to fight? You want to take this outside? I'm outside your window right now.
I know that's not true.
Me and Flynn were legitimately planning to prank you, and I'm just going to let you know that it can't happen. But what we were planning to do is pre-record my session, my drawing session, and then just randomly pop up pretending to be your cat at the door. It was going to happen. It was going to happen.
One day.
No, Thursday. It was going to happen, and you know why it didn't happen? I couldn't find a cat collar big enough for my neck, so.
First world problems.
I know. But you know, it's all part of it, right? It's all part of the idea that I'm not meant to be a cat.
And the world is a sadder place for it.
However, I want to bring my smooth. Ooh. Yeah, that's what I want. I want that smoothness. What are you drawing? I didn't actually ask what you're drawing. How rude of me.
I am being incredibly unoriginal this morning.
What are you Skulls.
No, I'm drawing a samurai stormtrooper helmet.
That's not
Which is
unoriginal.
an idea that's been done a million times. I actually have a couple of those little figurines that are
you have them?
stormtroopers as like Edo. I've got one of them as a Darth Maul one.
Yeah, I know that one. That looks sick.
This guy.
That
There we
looks
go.
dope.
Tools of the trade.
Dope.
Some reference there.
I'll show you. I'll show you my favorite Star Wars character on camera.
Yeah. What is it? Who is your favorite Star Wars character? Let's go.
This guy. Can you see it?
Come on, man.
Can you see it?
I can.
That's what Boba Fett looks like under his mask. Snap.
All right, 3 minutes to pencils down.
Hands down, the best Star Wars character. Don't at me. Babu Frick.
Who? See, this is where my nerdiness maybe knows its limits.
You know, okay, have you seen the Skywalker movie, the last one?
Yeah. Rise of Skywalker.
Rise of Skywalker. You know when 3PO has to translate the Sith language?
Yes.
And there's that little drunk alien that's working on him.
Mm-hmm.
That's Babu Frick.
Okay, that's pretty cool.
That he's hands down the best Star Wars character ever. I think he would smash Baby Yoda in a fight. It's very sad, but I think he would drop it.
Oh.
Don't ignore me.
I'm ignoring you, dude. I'm in the zone.
I'm in the zone, man. Don't bother me, man. Don't bother me, man. No.
All right, cool. So that's all the time we've got for today, guys. So we will leave it there for now, but we will be back, as I said, next week. Not next week. Sorry, on Thursday at the same time, and we'll continue working on these ones. So thanks for your questions, everybody. Really enjoyable. Thanks for hanging out, Jesse, and we'll see you on Thursday. Thanks, everybody, and take care, and we'll see you soon.